Hello there everyone, it is Roda and I am very excited to talk about the first real look at the next generation of Beyblade, Beyblade X. Now, I'm going to be trying to go over all of the different little bits. I'm going to be trying to cover most of what I find interesting. I'm going to be talking about what I think things. So, I'll probably miss out on a lot of stuff. Go check out other people's things if you're very interested. I just wanted to give you a little overview of what I think. I'm excited. Yeah. So, this next generation, we're getting metal contact points, and we've got a nice gimmick on the bottom that interacts with the stadium. It's like hard to explain one without the other, but you've got the little gear system on the bottom of the Beyblade, and that interacts with what they call the extreme line on the arena, which is basically just a bunch of teeth. It hits the bottom of the tip and sends it flying around the arena. It looks very fun, and it from the videos works, which is really cool. It looks like it leads to some really cool, fast and big recoily hits, which as a plastic gen fan in particular, the big recoily hits, I like those. And it almost seems like they really would like to avoid spin finishes and prioritize big recoily hits, because the point system really prioritizes these big hits. There's multiple different ways to take advantage of them with knockouts and different pockets, and burst is still in the game. So it just seems like there is a whole host of different aggressive ways to win, rather than, the Beyblade slows down and then it stops spinning. So that's a very quick version of what the new generation is, what the gimmick is at Stadium. The most important thing now is that there are 4 new Beyblades coming out on the 17th of July. There are recolors, but there are only 4 main things to get. They are dranzer, Hell's Scythe, Wizard Arrow, and Knight Shield. So I'm going to try go over the specifics of those, starting with dranzer. So I'll first go over the different parts of it. There's the blade, then the ratchet, then the bit. Obviously the blade chooses your contact points and your spin direction seemingly. The ratchet is the height, and the bit is the tip and possibly the burst resistance. So dranzer is an attack type. It has dash attack, whatever that is. You have a 3-bladed upper attack ring. You have the 360 ratchet, presumably the same sort of height naming scheme as a Metal Fight. And then the bit is called flat. Then there's Hell's Scythe, the balance type. This has 4 blades for smash attack. Its ratchet is the 460, so it's the same height, but it has 4 points on it instead of 3. And then its tip is taper, which apparently has early game offense and end game stamina. Then we have a Wizard Arrow. I think this one is genuinely my favorite of the initial set. This is the stamina type, and it's got a fairly rounded 2-bladed attack ring. The 480 ratchet, so it's a little bit taller than the previous ones. And then its tip is called ball, which it almost seems like that should be on the defense type personally. Which, speaking of, is Knight Shield, which is a 3-sided defense type Beyblade with the 380 ratchet, so same height as the stamina type, and the needle tip, which again seems like that should go on the stamina type. But I am not John Beyblade, so what do I know? So that's the 4. Nothing really unexpected in what they would release there, one of every type. All quite nicely color coded to represent their type. Again, I think my favourite design is the Wizard Arrow one. I quite like the Knight Shield as well. I'm genuinely just really interested in getting my hands on them and finding out how they play. There's a handful of other releases all at the same time. As I said, there's recolors. There is a stadium set with a string launcher and a grip. You can buy a grip separately. You can buy a stadium separately, but you can't get the string launcher separately, I don't think. There is the Bay Battle Pass, which is like the Bay logger from Burst. It's tied to an app. It seems mostly like something that will only be useful in Japan, presumably. But they did seem to mention the app might be sort of a global thing, so it could be something to get at some point. And the final thing, obviously, is just a deck box. It's quite a nice design. I like it. It looks similar to the Metal Fight one, the red and black one, except for it's a nice green, black and white. So that's sort of all of the main information of the physical bits. again, I'm looking forward to this. Obviously, there's certain concerns, like are the teeth going to have wear? Is the burst system going to have wear? The extreme line appears to be sort of removable and segmented, so they're either anticipating having wear and making it easily replaceable, or they are planning to release extra parts that sort of let you customize the stadium, maybe some extra fast parts or something, you know, who knows. The other concern's obviously going to be, is the gimmick going to be varied enough to be interesting? Like, what sort of differences are the tips going to have that really change how they interact with that line? And, like, do they work without the stadium? You can use a burst bay in a metal fight stadium and vice versa. Sometimes it's not quite suited to it, but it still works. But with a gimmick so integral to the design, is it as suitable? You know, like over here, people don't like playing in a DB stadium because it changes how attack types work. So if they don't enjoy how it plays in that stadium, can they play them in the BB10 or a burst standard stadium, you know? I think my last concern isn't really a concern, you know, I'm just a little sad. I'm just like, oh, they don't have any stickers. To me, it's kind of sad for more of the kind of building and personalization aspect to go away, especially when their aim at the moment is sort of to make it more of a hobby. Although maybe with the way that the burst system of it works and everything, paint's back on the menu, maybe it's time to get back into the paint. If you wanted to customize it, maybe that's maybe that's an option, who knows? Well, I guess we'll see what the consensus is. But yeah, not really the most pressing concerns for me. I'm pretty carefree anyway, so at the very least, this seems like it's going to be a system that's fun to pull out every once in a while and do a few battles and then just go back to whatever you enjoy in the rest of the time. The final thing I was going to mention is the manga and anime side of things. The manga is going to be starting in the next issue of Koro Koro. I've heard that it's going to be 70 pages. I don't know how true that is. I don't even know where it's come from. I believe it is written by the person behind Kakegurui and drawn by the person behind Promised Neverland, both of which I've heard good things about. Promised Neverland especially. The art style looks quite good from the art pieces I've seen so far. Each of the 4 Beyblades have had their owner name and portrait revealed, and there's some interesting hints to what the story may contain. Dransword's owner is called Cross X, just to really drive home the point that this is a Beyblade X, which is often said in Japan as Cross. Hell's Scythe owner is called Bird, and he has sort of bird quills for hair. Wizard Arrow appears to be owned by a female blader, which is a rarity. Their name is Nanaido Moruchi, which is like the prefix multi in Japanese, which is interesting because Night Shield is also owned by somebody with the same name, but seems to be a different character. They look very similar, they have a similar aesthetic, but one looks male, one looks female, who knows? They've kind of got like some kind of carnival-y, magician-y sort of vibe going on, so I don't know, maybe they're a double act, maybe they're a single person, who knows? Oh, it's interesting. I'm curious. But yeah, I think this video has gone on slightly longer than it probably should have. I appreciate anyone who's watched. Let me know what you think in the comments, and then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll apologize once again for disappearing for so long. I'll see you next time, hopefully sooner than later.